Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the first in our new series of webinars called Strategic Wellbeing. I'm really glad to introduce our new commercial partner, which is People First. I will let Amanda do the introductions for that shortly and tell you a little bit more about who she is and what the company represents. Before we do that, just a couple of bits of housekeeping and also how the session is going to run for the next half an hour or so. Firstly, we are going to try and do exactly that. We're going to try and keep it to half an hour. We want to deliberately try and keep these things relatively short and sweet and do them quite frequently so that you guys can fit them in amongst your normal working days. Secondly, we will have time for a little Q&A at the end. So if you do think of any questions as you go along, we'd absolutely love to hear them. Please do just put them in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that as we go along. And then at the end, we can put some of those questions to Amanda or indeed me if you would prefer. We've got quite a lot of attendees expected along today, but I appreciate not everybody will necessarily be able to make it. We are also recording this session. It won't record your cameras and your audios, but it will record us and also any slides that we're showing. We will save these and we will share these around a few days afterwards. So if you can't stay on for the whole session, don't worry, we won't take offence and we'll just share the content with you afterwards. For those of you who don't know me already, my name's Harry. I am the founder of a company called Smart Clinic. We're an occupational health provider. We work with all sorts of different organisations across the country, quite a lot of schools, but also quite a lot of commercial businesses as well. The vast majority of people on this webinar will probably already have some form of relationship with Smart Clinic already, so you may hopefully probably know us already. You may be a little bit less familiar with People First, so that's a really exciting partnership that we've launched. It's all about well-being and coaching and training and trying to improve people's well-being strategies within their workplaces. I'm not going to go into any more on that because that's very much Amanda's area of expertise. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Amanda to introduce herself and talk us through some assumptions that we might make about employee well-being skills. Over to you, Amanda.
Thank you very much, Harry. I'd like to start by thanking Harry and also the Smart Clinic team for inviting People First to deliver the Strategic Wellbeing series. We're delighted to be here. And I'd also like to thank you for attending. Time is precious, so thank you very much for taking a moment out of your busy day to reflect on assumptions you might be making about your employee wellbeing skills. People First is passionate about unlocking people's potential and enabling teams and organisations to thrive. We empower individuals to make a positive impact on the workplace. And for us, this starts with focus on well-being and also the relationships that we have with others. Over the coming months, as Harry said, the Strategic Wellbeing series will cover a wide range of topics to support you in developing your workplace wellbeing strategy. From today's session on assumptions that we might make to strategies and steps that we can take to develop our own strategies, to exploring barriers that prevent people from translating knowledge into action, and also we'll explore building psychological safety in the workplace. If you need any additional support, we offer proactive preventative wellbeing solutions to support employees before they get to crisis point. So in today's diverse workplaces, assumptions about employee wellbeing skills can vary widely. By actively supporting and enhancing these skills through resources and opportunities, organisations can boost productivity and foster a culture of well-being. And that's why People First offer a range of well-being workshops, coaching programmes and habit-building initiatives to bridge the knowledge action gap. As employers, we can often assume that employees join our teams with a toolbox full of well-being strategies. And in reality, that can often not be the case. Or they may have some tools, but they can't effectively use them. Or they may try to use them too late. Personally, I don't think you can ever have too many wellbeing strategies in your toolbox. You never know when you might need them and what challenges may lie ahead. In my previous professional experience as a deputy head teacher at a large secondary school, leading during the COVID-19 pandemic used every single wellbeing tool I had available to me. And this included engaging in regular work and wellbeing coaching. So let's explore 5 common assumptions that some employers may be making about their employees' wellbeing skills. Let's start by talking about resilience. It is often viewed as a fixed trait, something some people are simply born with, but the truth is far more dynamic. Resilience is like a muscle. It can be strengthened and honed through life experiences, support systems, and personal growth. Some people may naturally possess higher levels, with other people needing to develop it through practice and self-awareness. So consider your team. Do you assume everyone's level of resilience is uniform, that they'll all bounce back from challenges the same way? Or do you recognise the need to nurture this skill, especially given that nearly a quarter of individuals struggle to accept failure? How we support our people through setbacks is crucial. A culture that embraces trial and error, coupled with a growth mindset, can be transformative. So why does resilience matter? In today's fast-paced world, it's essential. Resilient individuals adapt to change, manage stress, and drive innovation. They thrive amongst uncertainty. They foster positive team dynamics and organizational success. But it's not enough to assume resilience. We must actively develop it. So what can you do to enhance resilience? Consider the idea of a wellbeing onboarding program for new hires, providing resources from day one. Some companies are even developing employee educational wellbeing schemes to foster these skills across the workforce. In conclusion, resilience isn't a trait, it's a skill. By nurturing it within our own teams, we empower individuals to navigate challenges, foster innovation, and also drive success. Often, we fall into the trap of assuming that all adults possess effective communication skills. However, this assumption can lead us astray, as not everyone communicates or receives communication in the same way. So consider this. Do you presume that your employees can effectively articulate their needs, boundaries, and concerns? Are you confident that they can foster clear and assertive communication within the workforce? Communication skills lie at the heart of successful collaboration, understanding, and trust amongst team members. They empower individuals to navigate conflicts, foster strong relationships, and contribute positively to the overall work environment, resulting in heightened productivity and also satisfaction. Clear communication ensures that tasks are understood accurately and executed efficiently. When everyone understands what needs to be done and how, there's less room for errors or misunderstandings, and ultimately saves time and reduces stress. It's imperative to support managers and leaders in refining their communication skills. This entails honing softer skills and enhancing emotional intelligence to effectively engage with their teams. Consider the ramifications of conflict in the workplace stemming from poor and ineffective communication. However, proactive measures can prevent such conflicts from arising. Individuals understanding their communication preferences is also vital. How often do your employees express what effective communication entails for them? Conversely, do they recognise what ineffective communication looks like for them? To effectively communicate with me, you must explain the reason why, encourage questions, and maintain a steady pace and provide detailed explanations. Conversely, ineffective communication for me includes jumping between topics, interrupting my train of thought, and straying from the agenda. Offering employees the language, space, and tools to engage in conversations about communication is crucial to maximise their potential. So how do you ensure your employees possess the necessary communication skills to thrive in your workplace? What proactive steps are you taking to develop these skills and nurture meaningful relationships? These are questions worth reflecting upon as we strive for excellence in communication within our organisations. Work-life balance. It's a challenge I've personally grappled with and one that echoes through our work and wellbeing coaching programs time and time again. How do we find that balance between our work priorities and our life priorities? How can we, as employers, support our employees in establishing boundaries around their work commitments? And perhaps most importantly, how do we ensure these boundaries are the right fit for each individual? These questions do not come with a one-size-fits-all answer. Each person's circumstances and needs are unique. But what does remain true is the importance of achieving an effective work-life balance. When we prioritise the well-being of our employees, magic happens. Effective time management and work-life balance aren't just buzzwords. They're essential ingredients for success. They lead to happier, more satisfied employees who are not only more productive, but also better equipped to handle stress and avoid burnout. Yet we must ask ourselves, who taught us how to manage our time effectively? Are we assuming our employees possess these skills? And what measures are in place to ensure our shared understanding of priorities are across our teams? When we get it right, the rewards are immense. Productivity soars, creativity flourishes, and morale receives a massive boost. By promoting work-life balance, we're not just signalling our commitment to our employees, we're investing in a stable and engaged workforce. But beyond the bottom line, this is about people. It's about ensuring our team members are healthy, both physically and mentally. When they have time and space to recharge outside of work, they return invigorated, ready to tackle challenges with new vigour. So how do you foster a culture of work-life balance? What support systems are in place for those struggling to find their balance? Let us remember that promoting work-life balance isn't just good for business. It's the right thing to do. It's about recognising the humanity in each of our team members and creating an environment where they can thrive, both personally and also professionally. The fourth assumption is around stress management skills. Do you assume your employees have effective strategies for managing stress and are aware of their stressors? Stress management is crucial in the workplace for maintaining both physical and mental health, enabling peak performance and preventing burnout. By managing stress efficiently, individuals enhance resilience, productivity, and job satisfaction, which fosters a supportive work environment. Consider a school teacher facing challenges like large class sizes, meeting curriculum demands, and catering for individual student needs. Recognising the importance of stress management, they attend workshops focusing on well-being and stress management techniques, and are therefore able to implement these strategies into their daily routine. Reduced stress levels leads to improved classroom management and a positive attitude to work, creating a supportive learning environment. What resources and initiatives support your employees in practicing stress management proactively? Proactively addressing stress management is vital. Equipping employees with self-awareness and wellbeing tools ensures they can cope with stressful events and handle challenges effectively. It fosters a healthier workplace, reduces absenteeism, and enhances productivity. A commitment to holistic development fosters loyalty, trust amongst team members, and emphasises the value based on mental and emotional well-being. And lastly, we might assume that our employees are capable of managing their well-being independently, without the need of additional support or resources. We may also assume that employees possess the knowledge and actively engage in behaviours necessary to maintain their physical and mental health effectively. Well-being, self-care, and access to resources are crucial in the workplace because they directly impact employees' morale, productivity, and overall satisfaction. Providing support in these areas fosters a positive work environment where employees feel valued, supported, and empowered to perform at their best. How could you actively encourage and facilitate the development of self-care strategies amongst your employees, while also ensuring they have easy access to the necessary wellbeing resources? Assumptions can vary across different workplaces and across different sets of people. However, it's important that employers recognise and address any assumptions that they may have to better to support their employees' overall well-being. Before we finish, I'd like to take a moment to give you an opportunity to reflect. What assumptions might you be making about the wellbeing skills of those that you work with? You may have started thinking about other assumptions that you might be making, and this might include time management skills, problem-solving skills, the ability to set boundaries, personal levels of emotional intelligence, the ability to be adaptable, and possess the skills necessary for dealing with uncertainty and change. There may also be assumptions around financial literacy and financial well-being. So before you leave, I'd like you to take a moment. What commitments will you make to challenge and revise your assumptions about the wellbeing skills of your colleagues? What additional support and resources could you put in place to support the development of wellbeing skills? I'll give you a moment to consider. Now I'd like to give anybody an opportunity to send us some questions. Harry, have you got any already?
I've got a couple from me, actually, to start with, if I may do.
Okay.
Whilst we're going through those, if you could just use the chat feature within Teams to type any questions that you may have for either Amanda or I, we will do our best to answer those as well. Or if there's anything that you would just like to discuss as well, it's always useful to get wellbeing conversations going. So anything that you think could be relevant, please do type it in that box. In the meantime, Amanda, one from me. One of the challenges that we at Smart Clinic both observe internally with our existing staff, and also something that we see quite frequently with clients, is the implication of kind of stress and difficulties around any form of change. And I think the reason for that we see is that change is almost invariable. Change is never really made to make things worse. Change is usually intended to make things better. But nevertheless, change is always quite a scary process, particularly for an employee who might not necessarily be the person who's actually in control of that change. So I think probably the question I would have for you, Amanda, is do you have any kind of tips on how you might best manage change in order to sort of manage people's expectations and sort of frame it as a positive experience for everybody?
Yes, Harry. I mean, I think that's something that we could probably do a whole nother webinar series on personally. But in a nutshell, highly recommend it's around understanding individuals and their needs, having open and clear communication, and trying to understand what the barriers are to change, and selling the why, always starting with why and talking that through with individuals can really help to understand what change is occurring and the timescales associated with that change. And try to get them involved in the change process. If there is anything that you can ask them in terms of their feedback or any ideas they might help. Because as you rightly say, change in business is never done to be detrimental or negative. It's around the future and future planning of that business. So providing opportunities for people to experience and understand that change, I think, is vital.
Yeah, it reminds me, what you said there reminds me of something that one of my old bosses said to me once, which is whenever you're implementing change, bring everyone along on that journey with you, because the more engaged your team around you are with that change, the less resistance and more support you tend to get to that as well. Which I think goes hand in hand with what you were saying there. So it's quite interesting to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe even thinking about different hats that you can wear in that change management program, thinking about it from different perspectives, thinking about what questions people might have, and trying to preempt those challenges and barriers right from the word go can really help your change program.
Interesting, thank you. We've got a question from Sidra. Hi, Sidra. Thank you very much for commenting. Sidra has asked, we're due to roll out new wellbeing strategies across our academies. Great news. Staff can be reluctant to take part. How might we overcome this? Have you got any thoughts on that, Amanda?
My immediate thought is that sort of equation, isn't it? This is going to help you in the long term, but in the short term, I've got so much workload on, I really haven't got time to approach it. So really going back to the why, trying to get people to understand the benefits of the programs, and encouraging clear communication with the outcomes of what you're hoping to achieve. Speaking to colleagues and understanding what their needs are and how you can best support them within it, and trying to have open dialogues and communication right from the ground floor of your businesses right the way up to senior leaders, and having wellbeing conversations and putting those on the table, I think is a great starting point.
Something else I think I would also add to that, and it's something that we observe a little bit, is you've got to be very careful not to force your wellbeing strategies on people, because not everybody necessarily will be ready to engage in it straight away. Some people might not prioritize it just yet. Some people might not see the value in it just yet. Some people might not have the time just yet. Doesn't mean that they never will. And people will buy into it in the long run. They will see the difference that it makes. They will observe any change within their colleague, and they'll observe any positive change. And of course, the better the wellbeing strategy is that you implement, the more positive feedback you'll get, and the more conversations you'll get within your organization about it as well. So from a personal point of view for you, Sidra, I'd say don't be too disheartened if you don't get buy-in from everybody on day one, because that would be an unrealistic expectation anyway. And probably from a wider context, I wouldn't necessarily try and force it upon people too much just yet. It's about giving people access to the support they need when they need it, and making sure that no culture is changed in one day. It simply can't happen, especially for a multi-academy trust such as yourselves, where you've got lots of different organisations, lots of different sites, and of course a lot of staff. These things take time, so it's almost like drip feeding, I think. Amanda, another one from me, if you don't mind. Communication. This is something of a hot topic of mine as well. The importance of communication obviously cannot be understated. It's also an area where probably the most disagreements can happen is due to breakdowns in communication over and above anything else. What would you do, and how would you kind of encourage organisations to ensure that they have that their staff have the effective communication skills? And also, when they identify staff who don't have those effective communication skills, what would you suggest they can do about that?
That's a cracking question, Harry, and it really does add potentially to conflict in the workplace or reduced relationships. So, as I said in the assumptions being made, understanding people's communication preferences are really key. So having those conversations between employees and also their line managers, but also employee to employee, and understanding how you can have effective communication with each other. If colleagues are struggling, there are a wide range of different training programs to help effective communication skills. One of the things that I quite like is doing not necessarily role plays, but deliberate practice on conversations. If you've got a difficult conversation to have, give it a go before you actually have that conversation with somebody. And lead by example. Have your leaders and managers communicating in an effective way that supports the whole entire culture of the business.
Yeah, that's cracking. Really interesting. Really interesting. I like the idea of role playing a conversation before doing it as well, especially one that you're particularly nervous about.
Because sometimes when you say something, you can think it in your head really, really well, and then as it comes out in words, it's like, oh no, I didn't really mean it like that. And whenever you look at any skills, whether it's a footballer learning a skill, we learn the skill and then we practice it over and over again before we actually then go to put it into a game. But we don't tend to do that with the softer management skills and people skills that we develop over life. So either having somebody that you can have that practice conversation with, or even just as you're driving to work in the morning, saying it out loud can really make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. You might look a little bit crazy driving along talking to yourself, but it's very useful.
Oh, definitely.
Well, I think that pretty much brings us to the end of this session. We've been on about half an hour now. Some really interesting topics. Thank you so much, Amanda, for going through all of those and for answering our questions as well. Just a little reminder for everybody: we've got 4 or 5 more sessions very similar to this coming up in this series. Amanda will be leading those sessions. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Any feedback, we're always delighted to hear it. Similarly, any follow-up questions that you may have, or just any conversations that you'd like to have with either of us around wellbeing, would absolutely love to have it. It's an absolute fascination and particular interest of both our organisations. So if there's anything that we can ever do to help, please do let us know. In the meantime, thank you again, Amanda, and thank you everybody for joining. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.